Hey guys, we have an anime channel called Mystic Sage, where I do a lot of anime stuff. If you like anime, consider checking it out. I will leave a link for that and for the most recent video I posted down in the description below and in the icon above. We also have merch on sale if any of these shirts look cool to you, like Shepherd's Delight. Go check that out in the description as well. The Pokemon Gym Leaders. They are the ones you must test your might against if you want to make it to the Pokemon League and become the champion. So naturally you might think that they get progressively harder as you go along with your journey, but that's not true. There are so many different factors in everyone's journey that could make them feel one gym leader is harder to take on versus another. That's why today, I decided to do some research and rank some of these gym leaders from easiest to hardest. And I figured the best place to start is with the OG games in the series, Pokemon Red and Blue. When creating this list, I took a couple of different things into consideration, such as the Pokemon you'll be up against versus the selection of Pokemon you have available to you at that point in the game, as well as other moves available to you versus the moves on their Pokemon. Just because a gym leader has a level 47 Pokemon doesn't necessarily mean they're hard to beat at all. I mean, the classic meme we know the most is how tough Whitney and her Miltank are, and she's only the third gym leader in Johto. So yeah, with all that being laid out, I hope you guys enjoyed this ranking list, as it's not based solely on my opinion. With that being said, let's hop right into the battle with the Kanto Gym Leaders. So there's only one logical place to start here, and that's at the first gym leader, Pewter City's Rock-type master, Brock. In Red and Blue, Brock's only Pokemon are a level 12 Geodude and a level 14 Onix. Now don't get it twisted, Brock isn't the easiest gym leader in Kanto just because he's the first one. He's the easiest because for the point of the game you're in, you can easily defeat him without much pushback. If you checked out the best team for Red and Blue Remastered, I mentioned that the best of the choose is Bulbasaur, so let's just assume you may have picked it here. Squirtle of course is another option that absolutely defeats Brock without much issue, once it has a Water-type move. Geodude and Onix are both the Rock type, but things are made even more difficult for them once you realize they're both Ground type as well. Now if you decide to go with Charmander instead of either Bulbasaur or Squirtle, it's not going to be an easy time at all. One starter makes things incredibly difficult while the other two make it the easiest cakewalk in the entire game. And when the odds are taken into consideration, 66% of the time Brock will be a ridiculous pushover. What you could do is get yourself a Caterpie and train up to level 12, where it will become a Butterfree with confusion. Since Brock's Pokemon do not have Rock type moves, there is no real reason to worry about Butterfree being taken out too quickly. Brock's Pokemon have relatively low special stat, so confusion should do pretty much good damage until you're at a point that you've chipped away enough that Charmander can come in and ember them away. Coming up after Brock is definitely the second easiest gym leader, Lieutenant Surge. Quite a few people may remember as kids having a bit of a hard time dealing with his Raichu. His Raichu is level 24, carries both Thunder Shock and Thunderbolt, and is honestly a bit of a pain if you don't have something good to counter it. If you chose Squirtle as your starter, I feel bad for you, because it'll be useless in this gym. Surge has a level 21 Voltorb with no electric type moves at all, but it carries Sonic Boom, which will deal 20 points of damage to your Pokemon no matter what. At this point in the game, you're probably not going to be able to make more than 2 or 3 of these, so it can make things pretty difficult. If you head into the gym with Bulbasaur as your starter, you'll be in for some luck, since more than likely you'll have an Ivysaur at that point, and the plethora of electric type attacks that Surge would use against you would hardly be effective thanks to the electric resistance that Grass type has. You could very easily fight back this with Elite Seed / Poison Powder combo after you get past the Voltorb. However, on the likely chance you didn't choose Bulbasaur and instead went with Squirtle or Charmander, you're very much in luck. Right to the east of Vermilion City is the entrance to Diglett's Cave, which gives you the opportunity to get your hands on the only typing that is super effective against electric type, Ground. Not only do electric type attacks completely fail against ground types, but if you recall the way things go in Pokemon Red and Blue, you get access to Dig right before heading to Vermilion. It's like Game Freak was doing all it could do to help players get ready to take on Surge, and its franchise mascot line of Pikachu and Raichu. Once in Diglett's Cave, you've got a guaranteed chance of finding a Diglett or its evolved-form Dugtrio. With either one of these at your disposal and immediate access to the move Dig, if either the Dugtrio or Diglett you catch doesn't have it, you're set up with probably the single best Pokemon versus any gym in the game. Raichu literally doesn't have a way to deal any damage at all to Diglett or Dugtrio, and Pikachu's only damaging move is Quick Attack. The only true threat is Voltorb, with that pesky Sonic Boom, but all what you take to defeat it is a single use of Dig. Get yourself the easy to obtain Diglett or Dugtrio, and use Dig and you've assured yourself a Thunder Badge from the time you step foot into that gym. We're taking a trip to Cinnamorough Island for the third easiest gym leader, Blaine. While he might be the second to last gym leader you end up facing, he can very easily be a cakewalk if you've collected the right Pokemon along the way. It isn't even possible for you to have ended up on Cinnamorough Island without a Water-type Pokemon, so right away, you're in great shape to take him on. If your starter was Squirtle, then you'd most certainly have Blastoise by now, and you'd set up with Surf and ready to rock. Blaine has got a level 40 Ponyta, a Rapidash, and a Growlithe, both at level 42, and finally, a level 47 Arcanine. None of them would be happy against the Blastoise using Surf in its 40s, but if you'd chosen Bulbasaur or Charmander, you probably aren't going to have as easy of a time. However, with the opportunity to get several water-type Pokemon along the way, already you're most certainly going to be fine. Though I suppose there is a chance you might have swam your way down on Lapras, which is a good Pokemon, but doesn't carry resistance against Blaine's Fire-type team. Every move this Pokemon has for offense is either Fire or Normal, and chances are they'll always default to try to hit you with those Fire-type moves. In that case, once again, Game Freak took mercy upon you. Remember that fossil you got back in Not Moon, either the Dome Fossil or Helix Fossil? One of which will get you either Kabuto or Ammonite. Both of these ancient Pokemon are Rock/Water type, resisting all Fire-type attacks by ×4, or resisting normal type moves without issue as well. Kabuto and Ammonite will be attained at level 30 when you take them to the research lab and Cinnabar and resurrect them. And once you just do a little bit of grinding up to level 40, you'll get either Kabutops or Amistar. Slap Surf on either one of them and swooping Blaine should be absolutely no problem. As a matter of fact, if you chose a Helix Fossil and bring it to that point, you're gonna have such a high special stat in Ammonite that swooping Blaine is a pretty much guarantee. The only annoying thing with Blaine's team is Roar on Arcanine that might force you to work around with some of your other Pokemon. But when Roar is the only thing you really need to worry about, you know the gym is gonna be a piece of cake. And right in the middle of the list, we have the Poison-type specialist, Koga. Now at this point, Koga is still fairly easy to take on, but it definitely is a little tougher than the previous 3 gym leaders. The Poison-type just gets wrecked by Psychic and Ground-type Pokemon and their moves, which at this point in the game are readily available. While they're not as good as they are in the Generation 3 games, you have Nidoking and Queen from way early on, both of which will be able to use Earthquake before this battle. They have the nice resistance to the Poison-type, as well as being able to hit all of Koga's Poison-types with a nice stab ground move. And because this is Gen 1, I do mean all of them. No Levitate on Coughing and Wheezing makes for a very easy victory. Rhyhorn and eventually a Rhydon as options as well from the Safari Zone. It offers the same resistance to poison types as the Nidos, however it does have quite a few more weaknesses and just aren't as good in my opinion to do the job. Now the one thing I will say is that Koga's Muck can get on your nerves quite a little bit in this battle due to that pesky disable and minimize combo. It's definitely going to give you a larger pain in your side as the Nidos don't have as many ground type moves in this generation as they do in later generations, so if Earthquake gets disabled, you're just going to have to deal with it and hope you can take it out quickly with some other moves or some other Pokemon. Now luckily the Nidos can't be poisoned, so that hurts Koga's strategy a little bit. But all of your other Pokemon are easy targets for getting poisoned, which is just another annoyance you'd have to deal with. While Koga might not be that hard in the long run, he can definitely be a tad more annoying than a good amount of the gym leaders if you're not prepared. So that's why he and his poison types find themselves plopped right in the center of all the Kanto Gym Leaders. Now leading off the second half of this list where things start to get a little more challenging is Giovanni. Giovanni's team in red and blue is ground heavy, so an ice/water/grass barrage can be pretty effective in defeating him. However, you do need to keep in mind a few things when doing battle with Giovanni. His Nidoking and Nidoqueen both carry Poison Sting, which can get very annoying, and his Rhydon carries the one-hit KO move Fissure. Giovanni is probably the last of the gym leaders that can be considered easy since there are many counters to his team. But even then, he is the last leader and packs some power that should be feared. Dugtrio is extremely strong and fast, and thanks to the mechanics of red and blue, he could easily get a critical hit after using Slash or Dig while lowering the accuracy of Sand Attack. You'd be in for a hard time against it if you didn't immediately outspeed. Rhydon is easily the worst Pokemon Giovanni is using as he doesn't take advantage of any stab whatsoever, and goes into battle with the move setup of Stomp, Tail Whip, Horn Drill, and Fury Attack. Horn Drill is a one-hit KO move, but Rhydon will definitely not be able to use it if you hit it with any sort of water or grass step attack. While Dugtrio is scary and Rhyhorn is pathetic, the Nidos on his team offer just some annoyance if anything else. You could end up poisoned if things go Giovanni's way right at the bat, but a well-placed water or ice move will take them both out. Finally, you've got Rhyhorn, which like I mentioned before has Fissure, but is not really going to be fast enough to avoid a water or grass type move knocking it out in one hit before it gets an opportunity to even try hitting the move. Like I said, Giovanni offers a bit more of a challenge for this battle, but he is still a relatively easy leader to defeat. The next leader we will talk about is Erika. Erika is a grass-type gym leader in Kanto, and the fourth leader you face overall in Celadon City. Her team is a level 24 Tangela with one of the most annoying Gen 1 movesets ever, and a duo of powerful grass types level 29, Victory Bell and Vileplume. The only way you're really going to have a good time coming into this battle is if you have a fire type, and even that is still pushing it. If you have a Fearow or Pidgeot at this point, you wouldn't have access to Drill Peck and Wing Attack respectively unless you were rather overleveled. That leaves you with having fire types like Growlithe or Vulpix, and then a Charmeleon if you chose Charmander. Even with one of those Pokemon, there's a pretty good chance that Vileplume and Victory Bell with their 100 special can take a fire type move and begin to pick you apart. Erika's Victory Bell carries Sleep Powder and Poison Powder, so you're definitely going to be worrying about stats conditions. However, even scarier is the move Wrap. In Gen 1, Wrap is extremely broken and you could end up locked in endlessly, having your health zapped away by it possibly only combined with poison until you faint. It almost doesn't matter if you have a type advantage over Erika. If you're not overleveled enough to deal with one-hit KO moves, you're going to be in trouble. If you manage to get through Victory Bell though, you deal skill of Tangela, and its 2 moveset of Bind and Constrict, the most annoying moveset I could think of in Generation 1. Except for maybe including Stun Spore along with them. I don't need to remind you just how difficult dealing with that kind of set can be, but if you get through them both, you're gonna face Vileplume, and it's gonna hit you hard. It is set up to either poison you or put you to sleep, steal your health away for itself with Mega Drain, and deal hard damage with Petal Dance. The only real option I would say you'd have without going in majority overleveled is to have Kadabra on your team. It has extremely high speed and special, and should be able to take out Victory Belt and Vileplume easily at level 29 with a Side Beam each. If not, it'll definitely make it easier for a Fire type to come in and clamp the mess left behind. Also a flying Pokemon as well.
So now we're getting into the second hardest in all of Kanto. Now this leader would have been the hardest in my opinion if it weren't for one quirk that the actual hardest has, but we'll get to that later. So yeah, the second hardest gym leader in Kanto is Misty. It doesn't matter which starter you've chosen, you're gonna have a hard time against Misty. Bulbasaur provides you an easier fight than Charmander or Squirtle, but you're still in for a hard matchup. Misty uses Staryu and Starmie. Lucky for us, neither of them have a second type move in red and blue. However, what they do have is great special and speed, especially Starmie. You could throw so many super effective moves at that Starmie and still be blown back each time. Squirtle can't do much of anything as a water type itself except take water type attacks. The only problem is it'll probably be hit with constant crit tackles from Starmie and get taken out. Charmander is not an option at all, and Bulbasaur is going to be in the same exact boat as Squirtle except that it does carry some options. Leech Life and Vine Whip are going to be the useful moves for Ivysaur to have in a battle against Misty, but even then, the chances of it dealing well with Starmie's speed and agility to crit are very low. The best thing you'd be able to do against Misty, if you didn't start off with Bulbasaur, is to get yourself a Pikachu and Viridian Forest and pray you get lucky while using Thunder Shock, Thunder Wave, or Quick Attack to take her out. This one is difficult no matter how you go at it, but even still, Misty just comes up short of being the hardest, in my opinion. So it's a bit obvious now who I believe to be the strongest gym leader in all of Kanto. It is none other than the second type specialist, Sabrina.
Talk about a jump in difficulty now as we deal with extremely fast and hard-hitting Pokemon. Her team is an Alakazam at level 43, a Mr. Mime at level 37, and then a Kadabra and Venomoth both leveled at 38.
Keep in mind that in Generation 1, the second type is only weak to bug types and is actually immune to ghost type, not weak to it. If the type effectiveness was the same as it is in any other generation, Sabrina would be sitting at the number 3 spot instead of Erika, but that's not the case. It's only bug.
The only bugs you could get up to this point are the Caterpie line, the Weedle line, the Paras line, and the Venomoth line. Butterfree has no bug type moves, Parasect only has access to Leech Life, Venomoth is part poison type and only has Leech Life, and finally, Beedrill is also part poison, but has access to both Twin Needle and Pin Missile. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that bug Pokemon just aren't going to be all that much of a help. Defeating Sabrina is proving to be extremely tough, but not impossible. Her Pokemon can be brute forced against, and you can also go out and get the only Pokemon that resists her second Pokemon, other second types. A Pokemon like Venomoth can be taken care of with the fire or flying type easily, but the other psychic types might not be able to handle a Pokemon quite like, say, Slowbro. Slowbro has some decent attack at 80 and can use moves like Surf and Strength to really wear down Sabrina's psychic types as they struggle to do minimal damage. Like I said, if ghost types worked how they are supposed to, Sabrina would have been at the top, but due to weird Generation 1 mechanics, she's undoubtedly the hardest gym leader. Well, that pretty much wraps up my rankings of all the Kanto gym leaders from easiest to hardest. I definitely put a good amount of time into the thinking behind this video, as I wanted to make sure I got a list that I feel most people could agree on. Sure, some people might find other gym leaders harder than others, depending on how they want to play the game, but I really do think that this is the most accurate order of difficulty on these gym leaders if you're playing your cards right the entire journey. What do you guys think though? Do you agree with my list, or do you have another order in mind? Definitely let me know in the comments below with your answers, as I would love to see what you all have to say about this topic. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. I also have an anime channel called Mystic Sage where I create a bunch of anime speculations and reviews, so if you like anime content, consider checking that out. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream a lot of Pokemon content and Nintendo content like Shiny Hunting, Showdown Battles, Explorers of Sky, Zelda, Fire Emblem, Smash Brothers, Borderlands, you name it, I play it. Want to support me further in game club perks? Check out my Patreon. Daniel Leone, Lady Crimson, Pal491, The Lazy Leo, Matthew Young, Awesome Lego, Jarrett Weezosted, and Sodden Grider did, and I want to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mr. Gumbrian, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.